If you've ever fallen in love with a fictional duke, a fey prince, a pirate king, a vampire, or a morally gray warlord, you're in the right place. Welcome to Historic Hearts Club, the podcast that dives into the fantastical world of historical romance and romantasy with your hosts, Marisa Coulter and Mary Pope. The spoilers will be spilt, the tea is piping hot as we unpack this week's spicy read. This week's read was chosen by none other than me. This week's read is An Offer from a Gentleman by Julia Quinn. So, before we dive into this week's book review, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask, Mary, how are you doing today?
I'd be remiss. I love that. I hope that every time we read a different historical fiction book that you start to take on the language of the book, because that just keeps it exciting for me, and I enjoy that. So I am doing splendid today, Marissa. I, as you know, just started a new job last Thursday, and it was hectic, but I'm excited to be there. I am grateful that it's a long weekend. I love starting a new job and then immediately jumping into a holiday weekend. I think that's the way to do it.
Yeah,
How
you
are you
started at the
doing
right time.
today? I know, right?
You know, I'm just happy it's a holiday weekend too. I keep thinking that I have to work tomorrow, and then the idea
We
that I don't have
don't.
to is just
We
so
don't.
nice. So, I'll be filling my night with some reading of our third book or fourth book that we're going to be discussing on the podcast. Get ahead a
Mm-hmm.
little bit on that. I'm very excited to start that one.
Me
We won't tell
too.
you what it is going to be quite yet because we're keeping that close to the vest as far as we go right
It's
now.
gonna
But
be a good one, though. It's
it's
gonna be
it's
a
going to
good
be a
one.
good one. It's going to be a good one. But otherwise, I'm doing the most with the least. Tomorrow's my husband's birthday. We're gonna
Yeah, what are
go
you
for a
guys doing?
Yeah, we're gonna go for a hike in the morning and then eat lunch somewhere where I don't have to cook, and then I'll pick up my
Perfect.
son from daycare and it'll just be like any other night, and that's a-okay with me.
Yeah, what's the weather gonna be like? Is it nice in Denver? Is it snowing? Is it gonna be like a snowshoe hike?
In typical Denver fashion, it is very sunny, which is great. It's also very cold, but we really haven't gotten much snow this year, so it's going to be a dry hike, which honestly, that's fine. I have to worry less about getting my shoes
Yeah.
all crazy dirty and muddy and all of that stuff. But for the snow gods that are listening, if you can send us some snow, the environment desperately needs it. So please.
Yeah. Also, I know how much your husband loves to snowboard, and so I feel like that would be a great birthday gift if they rain down that magical powder. Maybe you can
I
go next
know.
weekend.
Well, he is actually going to Vail this week, so
Is he?
hopefully there's enough snow to really make it worth his while. But I'm hearing that a lot of the runs and stuff are now open, so it should be good.
That's good. Have you skied Vail yet? I know that you're learning to ski this year, which I am
I
so excited
did.
about.
I did, in fact, take my first snowboarding lesson in November. It went really, really well. It was super, super fun. But in typical newbie fashion, I fell off the ski lift on my first time going up it. And
Oh my
I,
God.
in hindsight, I am about 99% sure that I fractured my tailbone. Um, and then I just proceeded to keep going and doing run after run.
'Cause you're hardcore.
Because I'm hardcore. I'm just that
You
girl.
are.
But it was super, super fun. I definitely will do it again. I think I'm probably going to take another lesson just because I don't think that it really hurts, but it definitely was a lot of fun. I will for sure be on the slopes again.
I feel like there's gotta be some ski romances out there, in like from a book standpoint. Obviously, there are actual romances happening on the slopes in real life, but
Sure,
I feel
sure.
like I wonder if there are some fun books out there that we could read. I'll have to do some research.
We'll have to do some digging. We'll have to do some digging. But you know
Some
what?
mountain
That
men.
that brings me to, though, our book of the day. So,
Yes.
without further ado, we can actually talk about why we're here today, and that is to discuss An Offer from a Gentleman, which was such a sweet read. And for those who
Mm-hmm.
don't know a ton about the book yet, maybe you live under a rock and you haven't seen this plastered all over Netflix, but regardless of where you're starting, I'll give you a brief overview. Now, just so you guys know, there is a trigger warning for this book. There is a light, almost rape scene. We are going to touch on it as we go through the overview and deep dive of the book. So want you guys to be aware. You might want or need to fast forward over that bit, but otherwise, this book is pretty safe, really, really sweet, and we really hope that you enjoyed it. The story itself is number 3 in Julia Quinn's Bridgerton series, which follows all of the Bridgerton siblings and their quest for love. This particular story follows Benedict Bridgerton, and he's the artistic second son of Sweet Sweet Violet. And he becomes captivated by this mysterious woman who he meets at a masquerade ball. Can anyone say Cinderella? Because this is your classic retelling.
I love it. I loved it. I love that part.
It was so sweet. But tell me more, Mary. What were your favorite parts as we got into the book?
Yeah, I had one of my favorite moments was when they're like on this private terrace at the masquerade ball, and they are really starting to get sensual and have a moment. And I love that they end up having their first kiss, one so early on in the book. I love that. But they hadn't even touched each other's skin. And so like that is just so sensual to me. That like the first skin to skin contact is their lips. Like, because if you remember, it's only after the kiss that he pulls off like she pulls
His
off her glove or his glove, and he pulls off her glove, and like that's when they actually like touch each other's hands. And just like imagine kissing someone before you actually touch them with your fingertips. That to me is like such a sensual experience. So that was one of my favorite moments. What about you? Like what was your first one?
So I feel like I need to be very frank and transparent with you about something right off the bat. And this is probably my largest hot take of the day. While I do love this book, and I think it's a very, very sweet, sweet love story, this is by and large my least favorite book of the entire Bridgerton series.
Oh my God, really? I actually really loved it. He was such like
I
he just like yearned, and I love men who yearn. Like I want to bring that back. Yes.
bring back the yearning. I'm in total agreement with you there. But I will say that this one, it just the other stories are just so good, and this one's really good too. It's just I think Benedict himself just annoys me a little bit and needs to get out of his own way. But I will say that I love that masquerade ball scene because Sophie is just, I love how even Julia Quinn writes her in the masquerade scene. She's just so joyful. She's so happy to be
So
there.
joyful.
She's so grateful. And I just love that about sweet Sophie. Like, she is kindness personified. The world has dealt her a terrible hand. She's treated like trash by mean old stepmother Araminta, let alone Rosamond, the stepsister from hell.
Ugh.
But
Ugh.
she's treated like a slave. Her day to day is just so grueling. But we get to see her just enjoy herself, be a woman, have fun at a ball. Like, it just lit my heart up with joy. And then I do think it was really sweet that Benedict so quickly took it upon himself to teach her to dance because he knew
Mhm.
that she would love to dance if only given the opportunity to know how. And so I thought that that was so, so sweet. But I have
Yeah,
to
I
say,
loved Oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead. I want to hear all about what you
I
loved.
I loved how everyone couldn't keep their eyes off Sophie when she walked in, kind of to your point, just because she was so joyful, Like I think that
Mhm.
really being happy and full of joy and life and love, just it radiates from a person. And I feel like Julia
Mhm.
Quinn was able to write that in the way that she was describing Sophie and like the effect that she had on the ballroom
Mhm.
when she walked in. And I thought that was just really inspiring, I think, to have a story where it's more than like just the looks, it's like the energy that captivates people.
I agree. I agree. I think that that was really, really sweet. Um, I did appreciate in this book in particular, like, I think it goes without saying, and for many people who haven't read Julia Quinn before, I'll just go ahead and put it out there. Julia Quinn is a fantastic writer. She definitely is a slow burn writer. So if you're expecting like, steam and really quick moving storylines right off the bat, that's typically not her. However, in an offer from a gentleman, I do think that she keeps things snappy, especially the way she writes it in like the prologue part 1, part 2. I think she did a really good job of not stringing us along too much. And then even with the time jump, like, well, first of all, I guess I should start by saying poor Sophie gets found out.
Mm, mhm.
Her stepmother realizes after Benedict comes to visit, searching out Sophie after determining the family crest on her glove, which she left behind in lieu of a shoe,
Mhm.
that unfortunately Sophie scuffed the shoe.
Yeah,
Araminta
you
knows.
had to get the shoes in there somehow, you know, it's so
I
key to the Cinderella story.
exactly. And then, she's called out. Araminta knows that in fact Sophie was the mysterious silver bedecked woman at the masquerade ball, and she tosses her out. Now, I give Sophie a lot of credit, though, I have to say, for having saved her pen money since her father passed away. We're talking, her father passed away like 7 years ago. Like, this is,
Yeah, good job, girly. I wish I was that good with money.
gosh, me too. I mean, I have to give her some kudos for that because that had to have been difficult, but thank God
But
she
it had to be
saved.
like, yeah, like her survival instincts. I feel like she's had to take care of herself, honestly, her whole life, really. I think maybe
Hmm.
not when she was really little with her grandparents, but that definitely changes the way you think and plan. And
Hmm.
my heart kind of goes out to her for having to do that, you know, like she never was just able to be free, even when she was young.
Exactly. Well, and I do want to put this out there too before we talk about that next phase of the book and as part 2 begins, but we will give a trigger warning for this book. It's a little bit light, it's not explicit, but there is a scene as you enter part 2 where so the son of Sophie's new employer does intend to rape her. So it's only about like a chapter or two scene length. So if that's something that triggers you, for sure, skip over those couple of chapters. You're not missing a ton either. Other than the fact that that is when 2 years later, Benedict and Sophie see each other for the first time since the ball. And that is also where Benedict, our sweet, sweet knight in shining armor, steps in
Mm-hmm.
and saves Sophie. Sweet, sweet Sophie.
Of course he does. I know, and I know it was so early on in the book that I knew he couldn't recognize her or there wouldn't be a storyline, but my heart really wanted him to just like look at her and know, like,
I
this is the
know.
woman that I have been pining over for the last 2 years. But obviously it took longer for that recognition to happen.
I completely agree. In a perfect world, I wanted so badly for him to just look into her eyes in that Phaeton ride and be like, "It's her. It is finally
Yeah.
her." And then it was like even well, Sophie's just so sweet and so lovable, so it's so hard not to just like pity her. And like, of course, she's going through this whole rigmarole in her head about, "Oh my God, he doesn't recognize me. How could this deep, unique experience have happened between us and he doesn't even recognize me?" And like the poor girl is just going through it that entire ride. I just
I
feel so
know, and
bad.
she thinks that, like, she thinks that, oh my God, he has forgotten about me. Even though like we had this incredible moment at this ball, he's obviously never thought about me again. And then you find out later that, which is another one of my favorite moments, that he also had been like obsessing over her and he drew her over and over. And like,
Yes.
yes, again, bringing back the men that yearn. That was
Yes.
just, I love that. And then like yeah, like that, it was like validating to be like, yeah, Sophie, like he's been yearning for you too, but he doesn't quite see that it's you, that was his woman in silver, but he has not forgotten about the woman in silver.
Absolutely. I also love that there's kind of this I feel like frequently in historical romance novels, a lot of times the main male character is getting the or female main character out of some sort of issue or he's kind of coming in to be the knight in shining armor, right? And while Benedict does save her from the horrible Cavender kid, um what she does for him in nursing him back to health, just like, oh, it lit my heart up. And it was so nice to see that power dynamic kind of shift a little bit because, for all intents and
Mm-hmm.
purposes, like, she's a woman in Regency London. She has no agency. She's single. She doesn't have a provider, a caregiver, even a guardian. Like, she's really on her own. And to see her be able to take care of this man who's so venerated in the ton and like is just the creme de la creme of available gentlemen.
Yeah.
I really loved that power shift.
I did too. I really enjoyed yeah, just everything you just said, that it was swapped. Also, the tension that she must have been feeling they end up in this cottage after their Phaeton ride, and then she has to take care of Benedict, right? Because he was getting over a cold and then it was rainy. And so she ends up having to, I think, undress him and like get him into bed. And she's fully aware, obviously, that like this is her dream man. Um, and then it's just the two of them in this cottage. And like, I can't imagine how like nervous I would be if I was in that situation with like a man that I've been dreaming of. I guess it's like more than a crush because like they actually kissed, but oh my gosh, like I can't even imagine like the jitters and the nerves that would be going on in my body. And also like I would just like want to sit and like I don't want to sound like a creeper, but like watch him sleep and be like, "Oh my God, can I touch you? Like you're actually here. I have forgotten like what it felt like to be in your presence."
I would feel the exact same way. And you also have to consider too that like in this day and age, we're so desensitized, right, to like bodies. And like
Mm-hmm.
seeing a
True.
man without his shirt on, that's like I could go to Google and
It's
see
yeah,
that. Like it's just very at your fingertips. We're desensitized to it. But in Regency London, you would
true.
never see this man undressed without the benefits of marriage or some sort
True.
of understanding as a
And also
mistress.
he's
But
hot, right? Like he's super tall and he's well built and like they always describe like his like gorgeous like chestnut hair and it's like, "Oh my God, that must have been so tempting, you know?"
so tempting. I mean, I give her a lot of credit for being so chaste and being so respectful. But kudos to you, girl. Way to be respectful when consent is not readily available. We love consent around here.
We do. We do. Um, but that takes me to like another one of my favorite moments when she was basically watching him swim naked in the lake, you know? And she was like, "Ugh, I should," like her conversation in her head was like, "I should walk away. I shouldn't do this." But then she like can't help but stay and look. And then he finds her out and like that obviously so much more tension and he's like, "Well, you can turn around for your benefit, but like if you want to watch me get dressed, like I don't mind." And it's just like, "Oh my God, such a hot, spicy scene."
I loved that. I loved that. I also, and I know this is kind of jumping a little bit ahead, but in typical Violet fashion, I love the way that this mother is so intuitive and just takes it upon herself to bring this sweet girl into the family fold. It's like she already knew, and she knows her kids the better than anyone. I swear she knows them better than they know themselves. But I just love that Violet brings these people into the fold and is such a mother hen. It's just so sweet.
She is so sweet. I wish she was my mom, honestly. 'Cause like she still is like, she's still like a strict mom with like opinions and this is how you should act and like really great morals. But like to your point, like she's really intuitive and she would be such a great guest to have on this podcast because she loves love, and
Hmm.
I think it's really early on in the book. She's like, I would let my kids marry paupers if it meant that they were happy. And
Yes.
it's just like that, I guess, is like a snapshot of who she is as a person, as a character. And you're right. She really knows her kids and she can see who is important to them and like how they change when they're around the people that they love, even before they know themselves.
Hmm. It does break my heart, though, that her love was so short lived because I know that they don't go super in deep into it in this book because I believe there's more of an explanation of what happened to her uh, deceased husband, Edmund, in book two and also book one. But essentially, she was pregnant with Hyacinth, the youngest sister, when that fateful day happened and Edmund was stung by a bee and just collapsed and died. And I just like, I give Violet so much credit. Not only is she a service and just so good to those outside of her family, but to be a single mother who raised that many kids to be such good kids. Because at his core, Benedict is also just a really sweet, well rounded guy. So
He is.
I think we give the Mother of the Year award to Violet.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, she raised incredible men. Not only are they like one of the, wealthiest families in the town, but like also all of those men are so desirable because of how incredible they are.
Mm-hmm.
They really are like the dream men of so many young girls' hearts in this universe.
Agreed. Okay, now I have to ask you, were you surprised that Araminta, well, first of all, unfortunately, Araminta does track Sophie down and realizes that she's come back to London, right? So, in typical Araminta fashion, and maybe we should have mentioned this earlier, but in order to help fund Sophie's flight from home, she stole a couple of bedazzled shoe buckles from Araminta's closet to pawn. Now, we do in fact find out that these shoe buckles were paste jewels instead of actual jewels, as Araminta claimed to anyone who had ears. Um, but that being said, this all comes back into play because Araminta accuses Sophie of stealing. And while it might be true, it gave me the biggest pit.
Yeah. Just so disappointing. Also, like, it has been like time has passed. Like, just let it go. What else do you need to do to get back at this poor girl? You already like you find out later, she was stealing Sophie's inheritance. She also like was already getting paid extra money in order to let Sophie continue to live in the
Right.
house.
Also, lest we
Like,
not forget, never even told Sophie she had an inheritance to begin with. So,
yeah.
embezzling money,
Yes. Oh my God.
withholding
The horrors.
information. This is
Abuse, emotional
abuse,
abuse, unpaid labor, indentured servitude.
indentured
Yeah,
servitude. Yes.
I'm just like, why do you have to go after her for these cheap shoe buckles? Like, or shoe clips. I'm like, did you even like them? She has like 80 pairs of shoes. I'm
Yeah.
like, did you even notice they were gone? Really?
Right, right. It's terrible, but I do enjoy though. So after Sophie has been called out and is now residing in prison. Poor, which can I just say, poor girl. All I can imagine is this sweet little innocent bedraggled hair shorn because she had to sell it to a wig maker to pay for some of her expenses. Like the poor girl's got a crappy haircut. Now she's in a dirty jail cell. Like
She just like
Sophie,
tried to run away from like her love's house, you know, who was
yes,
so nice, and like she lived in so much comfort. She had a writing desk as a servant, you know,
yeah,
and now she's in jail with a rat.
shows that she's also got the moral compass of a saint where she loves this man. He gives her an ultimatum to be his mistress and she turns it down. Which, okay, kudos to you, girl, for like having some standards for yourself. But that being said, um, while she's in prison, I apologize, I digressed. While she's in prison, I really appreciated the kind of arc that Benedict has to go through internally and like mentally to get himself to a point of finally accepting. And this also comes on the heels of having conversations with his brother Colin and his own mother about what this woman means to him. But I love seeing that flow of consciousness happen and love seeing him get to the point where he could admit that he loves Sophie. It doesn't matter what their future is going to look like together. And quite frankly, neither of them have their hearts set on staying in London. But like, I love where he gets to during that time.
Yeah, I mean, he just shows you like the incredible type of man he is. I
Hmm.
also loved when they all get to the jail, right? Which, oh my God, that jail scene was chaotic. So
It
much
was
was going
so
on.
chaotic in the
But
best
like
possible
just
ways.
yes, it all works out. So don't fret. But oh my gosh, so much happens. But just like the contrast of having Araminta's true form as like such a terrible abusive mother, not only to Sophie, but also to
Hmm.
Posey. Like Posey was one of my favorite characters, and like my heart just went out to her. But then having her right next to Violet, being like this
Hmm.
stand-up incredible mom, being like, no, you can't do that. You can't treat my child and like my future daughter-in-law this way. And also like I'm a better mother than you. Obviously she doesn't say that because she has class,
Right.
but you know, like that's what's coming through is like as part of this chaotic jail scene, and like the contrast between those two was like so stark for me. It really hit home.
Completely agree. I also was living for the jail scene. It was just one shoe dropping after another, one truth bomb after another. We see Araminta get called out for her thievery of the dowry. We see Posey come in and say, I stole those shoe clips. Arrest
We see
me.
Sophie be like, no, it was me. She'll punish Posey. Like all the dialogues going on in people's head. And the
Yes.
poor magistrate is just standing there being like, why was I pulled here between, oh my God, these two families? What even is the truth? These women are crazy.
Literally love it. And then I love too how Violet keeps saying, Benedict, where does my solicitor's office again? And like just kept dropping the solicitor thing to try to get Araminta to get in line. I also just, okay, yet again, sweet Mama Violet Bridgerton coming in and being like, Posey, pack your bags, girl. You're coming home with me. And like, oh,
Yes.
what a sweet thing to do. Like this girl, to your earlier point, is being so emotionally abused at home. And then to have, Violet come in and lift her up, and life's going to be better after that. Like, you're a
Of
pseudo Bridgerton
course.
now. Things are going to go well for you. Like, it's just,
Yeah,
ugh.
I really hope there's a spinoff for Posey at some point in the future because I loved her as a character. And then,
Well,
uh,
Mary, you are in luck. I don't know if
is
you.
there?
Actually, I don't. Did you read or did you listen to the book?
I listened to the book.
Okay, so that might be the thing. So if you are a Kindle reader, or I'm not sure about the hard paper copies, but if you are a Kindle reader, there is actually a book that was released by Julia Quinn that includes the second epilogues for every single one of the children's stories. And so for this book, the second epilogue actually is Posey's short story about finding love. So
Oh my God.
if
I
you
love
want more
that.
Posey, you got to read the second epilogue. It's really, really sweet and cute. It's a very short epilogue, but it's great.
I do need to read that. And we will discuss, obviously. But yeah, I loved Posey. I love that Violet takes her in. I loved all of that. I also can't wait to see what this jail scene turns into in the Netflix show, because I hope it's even more chaotic than the way it was written in the book.
I'm so interested. I'm glad that you brought that up because I'm very interested to see how they kind of maneuver this adaptation because first of all, they stayed relatively true to form with the book in the first season of the show. Second season, and I will say Anthony's story is one of my favorite books that she has in the Bridgerton series. They I didn't love that they veered away from the book. I really
Mm,
liked how in the book it's actually the two mains get caught in a compromising position towards the like front quarter of the book. They then have to marry, and then their love grows after they marry. And so like it's a very it's kind of pseudo marriage of convenience, which is probably why I like it, but they do deviate a lot from that. And then they deviate not only in season 3 with Penelope and Colin's story, which is technically actually the fourth book. So like we're kind of time jumping a little bit here in a different way.
mm.
Um so I'll be really interested to see how they stick to the book. Like will there be the 2-year gap, or like will we just kind of assume a couple of months? Like will they do the jail cell thing? Like there's just so much out there. I'm very interested to see how
Yeah,
this all
we'll have
shakes
to
out.
have some special episodes or talked about it on socials so that we can talk about the differences, because yeah, I am also just really curious to see what happens. Um,
Completely agree.
what was like your favorite, what was another favorite moment that you had in the book?
I would say honestly, like I'm a sucker for epilogues. I love epilogues, and like I really thought that it was sweet that they're living at my cottage or whatever. Um
Mm,
they're so in love. They have baby number 4 on the way. They're just like really living their life to the fullest and
happy ever
making each other,
after.
yeah, happily ever after. So like I do actually love the ending and that epilogue. That was really sweet to me. What about you?
I also love that, you know. I love love and I love when people find love. That's my dream for everyone. One of my favorite like just lines in the book though was in the Big Spice chapter or scene in chapter 17, um, where I think they're like I think in the bath together, or like he's cleaning her in the bath and she's just like she's finally out of jail, they're like finally together and she's like I can't imagine anything better. And Benedict like looks over and he's like, I can. Like, obviously, like, oh my God, like that. Also, just like the steam, you know? Like, I love a man that can just kind of be seductive and play with words like that. Because she was
Hmm.
just so being so innocent of like, life is just so good and sensual and I'm so happy. And like, I. I just want to be here and there's nothing that could make it better. And he's like, well, I can think of one thing that could make it a little better.
Yeah, I very much appreciated that. And I also will say like, for those who might be listening who have not read Julia Quinn books yet, you can't walk into a Julia Quinn book thinking that it's going to be open door, super, you know, crazy, kinky, explicit spice scenes, right? And that's okay. Not everything has to be, you know, what we're going to be reading next week, which is very open
Yeah.
door, very explicit. However, I think Julia Quinn writes this stuff in such a way that, like, even if you err on the side of usually reading stuff that's a little bit spicier and kinkier, you're still going to enjoy it. She writes such great love stories that
Mm-hmm.
it's sweet. And the way that she writes these intimate scenes it's very classy. It's very like class act, really well done. You might not be able to see all the way under the covers, but like you're getting a good scene out of it. Anyway, that's
Yeah,
just my
you
take on
definitely
them.
like I agree. I definitely feel like that sexual tension building in me before these
Hmm.
spicy intimate scenes and like so like I'm getting that even though like I tend to pick like crazier open door books. I
Sure.
was like really I was really feeling that sexual tension and like the enjoyment of like getting that tension getting cut and like actually getting that satisfying ending. So I loved it. I loved the spice in this book. Definitely I agree like on a little bit on the lighter spice side compared to the full spectrum of books that we read, but
Sure.
I absolutely recommend it to others to read.
Agreed. I would definitely recommend this book for sure. Now, Mary, I know that we're getting close to time, but I have to ask, is there anything that you would change from the book?
Oh man. I mean, like I think I already like obviously this can't happen, but like I would have loved that he recognized her in the very beginning and then like there was just a lot like a different storyline of him trying to figure out how they could be together, like
Yeah,
I just feel like that would have saved so much heartbreak and would have been satisfying. But I think a big part of that is because I'm an impatient person and I didn't want to have that long slow build, which is Julia Quinn's writing style and is like
for sure.
satisfying in a different way. But I would have loved that just for Sophie's heart and for him to know that like he found his woman in silver. It would have been
Yeah.
so it would have just been happy.
I completely concur. That's the one thing that I would probably change. But quite frankly, like it's not big enough to where it influences in any way the way that I still love this book. So take that for what it's worth. But
Yeah.
I did want to, though, maybe get a sense from you, Mary, about what book we're going to be reading next.
Yeah. We're going to be reading The Court of the Vampire Queen by Katie Robert next, and it is a unhinged, steamy vampire reverse harem love story with power struggles. We've got daddy issues. We've got a female main character who comes into her own and her own power, and we've got kind of enemies to lovers and like a lover boy, and we've got all sorts of different tropes in this book. It is very open door, so just a heads up, and we'll give warnings when we actually get into the episode. But I am really excited to talk about it with you all.
Yes, having just finished the book, I can honestly say you guys are in for such a treat. It is extremely spicy. It hits you in the feels too. It's really got a little bit of everything for everyone, and I'm super excited to discuss it with you, Mary, because I think that we're going to have a lot to unpack and a lot to say.
I think we are. I think we're going to have a lot of things that we love and that we don't love. Probably more things that we don't love than we did for this book, which I feel like I didn't have really anything bad to say.
Amen. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Historic Hearts Club. If you haven't already, join the Historic Hearts Club book club on the Fable app for even more hot takes about this book and our upcoming books that we'll be reading. And don't forget to follow Historic Hearts Club on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and X. We appreciate your comments. We appreciate your likes. We want to hear from you on any book recs that you think that we should add to our list. And until next time, stay smutty, read often, and thanks for listening.